So I'm making this video, and it's probably going to be a total stream of consciousness, because I'm sitting here in my bath, as I am several nights a week, trying to synthesize all of human nature down into one potential overarching ethical, philosophical guide. I'm having trouble doing it, not gonna lie. So, I thought, what better way than to work through the issue than to talk to my phone in a stream of conscious kind of way and then post it. That would be amazing. So I'm writing this book called Moral Bias of Objectivism, How Moral Ideals Cloud Objectivity. My entire point is that moral paradigms attempt to control the emotional mechanism of a person. This is Ayn Rand's exact intent. It's her exact quote, that they operate off the premise that humans are born tabula rasa. Now, in practical application, tabula rasa ends up not being any different than original sin, because tabula rasa says what's inside you is not necessarily good. It says, it puts a nice, sweet packaging on it and says, well, we're saying you're neutral. But if you read Ayn Rand's arguments, your natural emotions could lead to mayhem and anarchy and lawlessness, and unless you go in and program your inner mechanism, all sorts of bad things will happen. She doesn't just say, contain your anger, or you can't learn calculus through your emotions. She directly wants direct control over your entire emotional mechanism, such that you program yourself to be happy when certain things happen, and to be angry when certain things happen, to be full of pride when certain things happen. That you control your emotional mechanism, and why not set it to your objective way to live as a rational being, such that you are happy when you are productive, and you are angry when people destroy your creations, that you're controlling all of it. So that's my exact argument, is that Ayn Rand tries to program your emotional mechanism, and that this is wrong, because we're not born tabula rasa. We're born naturally with certain things that we tend to like and tend to not like, and with natural personalities, and with archetypes, which are innate images in the mind, which carry huge emotional weight for humans, which is not a topic I can go into too much depth right now. So, but the thing is, when you attempt to control a person like that, they give up their power. You now are not allowed to feel your own feelings. They have to be rational. And other people have to be rational too. Ayn Rand directly says, go out and morally judge people as a way to clean up the irrationality in the world. There's an article of hers called, What Can One Do in an Irrational World or Society? I forget the name. But she says, go out and directly morally judge people. So we're also morally judging other people. This creates all sorts of toxic behavior. I was an objectivist for 10 years. It's bad. It gives you this sense of you're rational, and all these other people are tyrants and out to kill you, and not kill you, but they have no sense, and unless you go out and civilize them, you're going to be living in tyranny, and it's going to be very bad for you. So you need to alter their feelings, because we're tabula rasa. We're just a big pile of goo inside, and it needs to be whipped into shape to be something rational. Okay, so that's my argument, is that moral paradigms strangle and crush and program and try to control your inner mechanism. This is like my whole thing. And that in doing that, you end up giving up your power. And religion does this as well. Religion is a master at it. Religion directly tells you, do not trust your own intuition, always follow God. That's right in Proverbs. Religion is very law-based. Christianity likes to think it cleaned all that up, and they are no longer, and there's only one law, which is love yourself and love others, or I guess that's two, but it's very clearly stated that Christ, according to the Bible, Christ very clearly said, I'm not here to change any laws. I'm here to fulfill them. At any rate, the practical experience of people in religion is that they are subdued. They're pacified. They're told what to think. They're told who to pray for. They're told any amount of rebellion is kind of like disrespect. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put people back in touch with their power. And my whole thing is these all-encompassing moralities are themselves the source of all the bad things we see in life. Maybe not all of them, but they cause a tremendous amount of turmoil in a person because they're all fear-based and they're all shame-based. And they all purport to solve this problem that left alone, humans are bad. That we can't be left alone, we have to be whipped into shape. Well, when you do that to someone and you judge them and you shame them, it causes humans to rebel in very angry, violent ways. And so you're in this cycle where, oh, well, of course humans are angry and violent. See, I just proved it. You need religion or whatever, some civilizing moral paradigm to come in and civilize you. It's a toxic cycle. And I hope just by identifying the toxic cycle, I can help break it. Because the cycle is very predictable. As in, it has a predictable pattern. And I outline that in the book. I call the cycle moral bias. It is always kicked off by fear. Fear or shame, but usually fear. And we see this cycle in more than just religion. We saw it the past 2 years. We saw it big time, where fear drove a all-encompassing behavioral paradigm, where there's behavioral control. The fear kicks it off. Draconian measures are put into place. Good behavior and bad behavior is tied to morality or immorality, which causes winners and losers, heroes and blasphemers, rational and irrational. I'm saying in and of itself, this cycle is bad. So what's my counter to it? Should I make a counter to it? Is exposing it enough? Now, I previously had thought that I am opposed to all punitive means. Punitive meaning specifically that you've tried to punish someone to alter their core behaviors. So, like, I would be opposed to the drug war, and I am, and I still am. But is that my main message? And what I have found in me being opposed to punitive means is when you say that, I am opposed to that. As is natural, when you said something to be immoral, as I've done, you want to vanquish it. You become super upset when you see it. That if you tell someone something's immoral, they're going to be on a mission to vanquish it. Now, in a way, I think that's good. We should be on a mission to vanquish coercion among human relationships, but when I'm the only one, and I'm putting up a fight against it, you know, when you're going against the moral norms of society, you're seen as crazy. You're seen as irrational. You're seen as out of control. You need to get back in line. And so I don't want to set up people for failure to do that, although, you know, I'd like some people to join my ranks. But the other thing is, I cannot stand seeing punitive means. So, for instance, I was at a hockey game a couple weeks ago, and some players were put into timeout because they got in a fight on the ice rink, and I was upset because I was like, something's driving them to be so upset that they're fighting another hockey player, and something probably legit happened for them to do that. And they both chose to be in the fight. They both were there. But it's like most people wouldn't see that as a problem. Most people would be okay with that. And I started to think about it as like, well, in a way, I engage in punitive means as it is. If there's a spider in my house, I'll probably kill it. That is exactly what punitive means are intended to do. I don't like your behavior. It's annoying me. I'm going to directly make it immoral, or I'm gonna penalize it, in this case with death, so that your essence that I don't like is out of my way. Now that's exactly what the drug war is. I don't like marijuana. I think it's bad. I'm going to criminalize it. Now, is that different than me killing the spider? And I also have come to realize there are some behaviors in human life that if I could eradicate through punitive means, I probably would. there have been crimes against humanity in which I would definitely, now I've never been opposed to putting people in jail, but I was opposed to the death penalty. Because my argument is you just want to separate those people from society so that we're safe if they're killing people or whatever, but it's not punitive, it's to provide safety. But the thing is, there's some people who have committed such awful crimes against humanity, I would favor the death penalty. Now the inherent problem is the death penalty in the hands of the powerful never gets used correctly. That's the inherent problem. So maybe I am opposed to punitive means, I don't know. My other proposition is to study human nature as is. Now I'm doing this as to wrestle it away from the religious and from fiction writers who have been telling us what human nature is. Now in some ways fiction writers are good. They wouldn't be popular if they didn't hit a chord with some part of human nature. But when you have someone like Ayn Rand putting together a formal morality and she's nothing but a fiction writer, that's where the problem is. So I'm arguing, like, turn this matter over to the natural observers of the world who can tell you more about human nature, who can tell you some of the cycles, perhaps of child development, or perhaps of how relationships work, who can actually, like, give you good advice. Now that is one of my main charges against Ayn Rand, is that she has a very flawed view of human nature, a very underdeveloped view of human nature, which she then goes on to codify into a moral system. So I think that has to be part of my argument. But the thing that really seems to resonate with people is to take back your power, is to trust your own eyes and ears. Now there's a quote from George Orwell that says, the final, most demanding command from the powerful, or whatever the quote was, is you were not allowed to trust your own eyes and ears. Now to me, that might be it. That might be the most powerful thing, is to trust your own eyes and ears and your experience, and don't let them take that from you. Don't let them tell you what is rational, what you should think, what is a quote-unquote fact with our famous fact checkers now. And it's like, okay, if people understood they had that power, the fact is tyranny would go away. Now, I was just sitting here thinking about it. Carl Jung makes that argument in The Undiscovered Self. He says man is a mystery to himself. Most people don't know who they actually are. If you ask them who they are, they'll tell you, well, I graduated from here, I'm married to this, but they can't tell you who they actually are. And that they're always giving up their power. They want politicians to solve their problems for them. He gives the example of people wanting the government to provide housing to them. And he makes the connection to religion, how religion says, I'm going to asks for your daily bread. That's what they want. And I've been finding that consistently, is that people who follow religion give up their power. They have a sense that they should be taken care of, and that all these laws that we have are necessary for peaceful harmony among us, even though these laws are very abusive. But it's just so strong in their mind that we do not personally act, and they see it as you're necessarily going to become violent. Now, here's the other thing. I do think that some amount of violence plays a role in life. I think if a man is disrespecting a woman, she has the right to slap him across the face. This used to be widely accepted as socially acceptable behavior. Throughout history, humans have been armed. Whether it's a sword or a bow and arrow, historically, humans have always been armed. They had power. Now, of course, we don't. We think we're civilized, but then we're like sitting ducks. You know, like anyone can pick on us, and we have no recourse, really. And we would have recourse in numbers, but they keep us separated. And a lot of us really don't like each other anymore. I mean, to be honest, we don't have reason to. We're not joined together for a particular cause, even if that cause is raising our children together. So, is taking back your power my main thing? I think it is, but then what would you say my moral system is? Because I can see it probably cannot be nothing. But then people are like, well, you're a hypocrite because you're saying, here's my moral system. And you're right, because it will be biased toward how I think life should be. I think life should be a little bit pleasant. I don't think we should coerce each other. A lot of things that would fall into place under my moral system. But at the same time, in my moral system, I think the natural thinkers and observers would elevate, and they need that protection. Because as of right now, the powerful grab all those job titles. They grab the job title of doctor or whatever, and they're very corrupt and abusive, and the people who are actually good at it are on the sidelines without any protection, and ultimately that is probably actually what I'm advocating. But at the same time, here's me doubting myself again. Like, so if we had just this moral system of take back your power, and more people did, and we rejected this idea that you stop coercing people, like, you would flow with life better. Because if you saw, I see all of this that is happening in the last 2 years as predatory behavior. That in ancient legends, they describe, for instance, someone poisoning a river to kill particular people so that they can get the land. Well, that's how I see a lot of what's been going on. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll give the example of currency. They inflate our money to impoverish us, to then, kick us out of our apartments, whatever it is they want out of that. So, can we clean up hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution leading to this predatory behavior, which probably has some kind of weird role in life that humans themselves wouldn't be here, except that we use predatory means to scare off other animal types. We scared off another hominid by scaring it every time it came to a food source. We are predatory, and that has helped us live. So this idea that coercion is wrong, I do think it is wrong. But I also see it as these are people who have been powerful enough to get together and enforce their way of life on others. And this is how all of life has operated, in a predatory way. All of life is predatory. The lion hunts the gazelle because it learned how to hunt and take advantage of the gazelle's weaknesses, and that's what's happening here. These psychopaths who are in charge take advantage of our weaknesses. Some of our weaknesses is we will not fight back against their efforts to corrupt our money, to pervert the laws. Sucks for me, but I'm trying to figure this all out, because as humans, you need other humans. You would need another human to make another human. Like, you can't just be totally on your own. So I don't know. And I don't think that the response to getting rid of moral bias can be nothing, because even when people leave their religion or objectivism or whatever, they tend to fall into the arms of some other propaganda. That's been my observation. So again, taking back your power and trusting your own intuition, and not being led around by fear, I think would help resolve that. I've seen change in my life. I've personally seen people change for the better. I've seen them become less abusive, become better parents. I've been told that my own work, I do research on certain human traits of human behavior, has helped people understand that part of their lives and helps them stay patient and be a better person. So again, studying human nature in and of itself would be powerful. And I think it is, and I think that's ultimately what is needed. You need to bring to life the humanity of other people, or the issues that they're facing. You need to draw it out for people. Now, the inherent problem is that moral bias stops you from doing that, because moral bias tells people not to trust their own eyes and ears, tends to persecute people. So scientists throughout all of history have had their hands cut off, been burned at the stake. You can't just say, let's be good and let's just do good, because it's not enough. There is a predator out there. So what is my moral system? Maybe I just present it as this, that I don't know. and let people kind of make up their own mind. And when I ask people what they prefer, they all say they want people to take their power back. I don't know. Share with me your thoughts, because I don't know. Thanks for watching.